Good day, nerds. Welcome to the Multiverse of Entertainment podcast. This is the podcast where we dive into the multiverse of TV and movies and check out the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly from those eras. My name is James. Welcome in, and welcome to episode 28. This is a pre-recorded episode, so thank you very much. Hope you do appreciate it. By the time you listen to this, I'm on my way back from EGX. I can't tell you if I've enjoyed it or not because I haven't been there yet as I'm recording this. So hope you've all had a good week. Thank you for tuning in to listening to episode 27, which was Rush Hour. By the time you've listened to this, that would have been out a week, and that was a really fun episode to do. I haven't really got much to say on this intro, so I just want to get this done because I've got a lot of packing to do. Gotta get myself ready to go. I'm literally recording this the day before I go to EGX, so this is on Tuesday the 10th of October. So we're just gonna crack on with the show. We're gonna be talking about Strike It Lucky for episode 28 today. So this is why the episode intro is gonna sound a little bit weird, but this is episode 28. This is probably not the best fucking intro I've ever done. But we're going to talk about one of the underrated game shows of the late 80s, early 90s. We're talking Strike It Lucky with host Michael Barrymore, which debuted on our TV screens on ITV here in the UK on October 29th, 1986. Let's get into the episode.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Michael Barrymore!
Thank you! Thank you very much! Hello! Thank you! Here we go! Good evening, good evening. Hi. Thank you very much. Your wife?
That theme song really brings back the
Lovely.
memories. Whoa. Whoa, okay. Wasn't expecting that. This game show brings back a lot of memories. I used to watch this with my grandparents back in the day, and very recently got back into it with a resident that I used to care for. And my God, you forget sometimes how good how the game shows were back in the late 80s, early 90s as well, especially the 90s. When I grew up, we had game shows galore. Back then, you had, Blockbusters, Strike It Lucky, Blankety Blank, Big Break, The Generation Game. Christ, The Generation Game. Who can never forget that? And 15 to 1 as well. Even the daytime shows. And Countdown still going to this day. But the thing was with Strike It Lucky, it was one of those game shows. I didn't really know how the game played. I don't think I paid attention as much as a kid. But once you get into it, you're like, oh yeah, it's quite an easy game to get through. And it depends as well on how you play it. So for those of you who don't know, Strike It Lucky is an adapt or UK version of an American game show called Strike It Rich, and which makes a change because usually what we create over here in the UK, the Americans copy us, so this is kind of like the first one where we've adapted, but I don't know what came first between like Wheel of Fortune and like Family Fortunes. Like for over the UK, for over in the US, Family Fortunes for us is Family Feud. Why the change? I have no idea. But the premise of Strike It Lucky was you had a team, you had three teams of two, and once the host Michael Barrymore, legend in the business. Once you've done all the intros, you've got to know and have a bit of a laugh with the contestants. The contestants then go off, where one person stays at the podium and the other goes around touching the little buttons on the screen. And you had to go from one side to the, you had to play horizontally. So you had to press the screen each time as you go, but you couldn't necessarily press the screen willy-nilly. The partner at the podium had to answer several questions, answer several questions, and the person at the podium had to give a number of answers, so they could choose. You could choose either have 2, 3, or 4 answers, which they had to give. And if they got it wrong, it would be passed on to the next person. And if they got it wrong, it would go to the next person, and then so on. But if you get the answers right, whatever the amount of answers you give or asked to give, you will be able to move. You will be able to move. Now, and if you get it wrong and the other contestant gets it right, they get all the moves. So it's kind of like a general knowledge thing. Some of the questions can be really funny. I think one example that I saw before was how many F words in this kind of thing. You have to give different answers, and they were all clean. It was quite funny. So when you get the answers right, you move on. Move from square. You start from the start, which it properly says, and then you have to press a button on a screen, and then the screen would pop up with like a prize, something really nice, or they have something called a hotspot, where if you get prizes, say if you got 3 moves, and the first 2 screens you press are prizes, and the third screen is a hotspot, you lose them prizes. So you get an opportunity to either bank the prizes beforehand, or you move on. So it's kind of like it's the name of the game, Strike Your Luck. You could either get all the prizes in those moves, or you could get nothing, basically. So this will go on until the person goes to the other end. Get to the end. So when you get to the last screen, it's a question, so you can't do anything about it. You can't make a move. You can't answer regular questions. You get a specific question, and if you get that right, you get through to the bonus round. If you don't, you move on until basically somebody answers the final question at the end, and they win. Once they do that, everyone goes back to where to the podium. So you say goodbye. Sometimes there are people who don't manage to move from the start, which is unfortunate, but they give the prize. Michael Barrymore goes up to the screens and then presses a screen to see what prizes they can get. Some of them are quite funny, and some of them are quite retro. Now these days, some of them are quite retro, considering you've got like a CD player, a Walkman, you get a nice holiday, a nice massage. You do whatever, it's really, really good. But then they don't allow to go away empty-handed. And also, they get like a free board game as well, which I don't think I ever played the board game. I think the only board games from TV shows that I ever played was the Blockbuster one, Big Break one, and possibly the Star Trek Next Generation game. I know I had that, because I had some of these games had like the little VHS tape you put in, and the person would come up on screen. That's pretty cool. Shout out to whoever remembers them, So then after that comes round, the winning couple go on then to the jackpot round, which they get a choice of how much prize money they would want to get. The top prize would be at the time would be £5,000, £3,000, and then £2,000. But I think there was a point it was like 3,000, 2,001, or £3,000, £2,000, £1,000 at one point. But I strictly remember like the £5,000 one. And some people would go, yeah, we'll take the 5,000. However, there's a bit of a catch to this. So whatever amount of money on the jackpot you want to go for, there's a number of hotspots you will get or are allowed to have. So for the 5,000, you're only allowed 2 hotspots. For the 5,000, yeah, 5,000 was 2 spots. The middle prize would be 3 hotspots. The last prize would be 4 hotspots. Generally, people would choose like the top prize. You want the top prize, then you don't really want to go anything less, do you? So when people go for, yeah, we'll go for like the 5,000, they go for the 5,000. The crowd cheers, and then they go off and play. And then the screens, then when they get to the actual game, they can play vertically and horizontally at the same time. So that so instead of having one set of screens, you get all 3 sets of screens going up and down, left, and you can only go from left to right anyway. So, but if you went for, like I said, if you went for the 5,000 and you only had 2 hotspots, you have to be really careful, because if you get those 2 hotspots, they're freeze. If you get those 2 hotspots on your way to the end, you have to be careful then, because if you get another hotspot, you lose the game basically. But if you get a question in that aspect, you have to answer the question right, or you won't get it at all. So there's 3 elements to the game. You've got green arrows, which is like automatic pass. You got your questions, which you had to get right, or you had the hotspots, and then they would get computer generated random order. So they would be in little spots, and then they would be covered. You wouldn't know where they gone. Nobody knows. But then this is where what's so beautiful about British game shows is the audience participation, and the people at home would be participating as well. I remember watching Play Your Cards Right with my family on a Saturday night, and we would all say higher, lower, da da da, stick, all that stuff. It's generally good fun. This is what I think is missing with families these days, is that the general we got all this reality TV stuff, which is okay, but who really wants to sit there and watch I don't know, young people on an island looking for love? Who gives a fuck? That's what Tinder's for. I'd rather stay home, watch some Family Fortunes or something. It's actually it's more fun. It's funnier. It's not as depressing. But but like I said, the audience participation is really good. Some what is it? Some contestants don't listen to the audience half the time, but then the ones who listen to the audience are usually the ones that get really, really far. But then towards the end, as they get close to the jackpot, they suddenly stop listening to the audience and they go somewhere else. I remember a son and a father was very close to getting the jackpot. They were listening to the audience all the way through, but then they decided not to listen to the audience at that point, and they completely went the wrong way, and they got the wrong thing, and then they lost the jackpot. But they were able to take home the prizes that they won initially at the start of the game, which is pretty good. This was really good of them. But yeah, I've only ever seen one person or 2 people win a big £5,000 jackpot. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else win it. Not that I know of. I don't think so. Do I? Can't remember. I don't know. But yeah, this would go on. This show was, really popular. The original show, it lasted 13 seasons, 209 episodes, and it ran from 29th of October 1986 to about 23rd of August 1999, where it was closed down completely. And I think halfway through they revamped it, because they had the original show was originally recorded or produced at the Teddington Studios between 1986 and 1982. Then it went to the famous Pinewood Studios, which we all know was famous for making movies. That's where Star Wars was filmed. That was from 93 to 94, and then it got turned off for about 2 years, and then it was revamped in 1996 as the original name of the show, Strike It Rich, still hosted by Michael Barrymore. And that lasted for 3 years between 1986 and then 1999, where it ultimately met its end, which I didn't know they rebranded it Strike It Rich between 96 and 99. I don't think I probably wasn't watching it by that time. I was probably watching reruns, and then I might have seen it. I'm not too sure. I can't remember. I usually remember a lot of things, but that isn't. My memory's pretty good with certain things, but I guess not that far. But this show was really, really good. It's if you have, it's on YouTube. Check it out on YouTube. You can find episodes on YouTube, and it's currently on reruns on Challenge TV if you've got like Sky customers, so you can check them out. I said it before, like with these kind of shows, I don't know, understand why they just don't bring these shows back, because you got young families who stay there, watch, right sports like on Saturday nights, particularly like Six Nations. But then after the rugby, you could easily have like a family game show on straight after it. I know Family Fortunes is still around and going strong these days. But I'm pretty sure like we've got room for more of these TV shows. I know the companies and I know the productions people usually decide what they want on their TVs, what they don't want. But I'm sure there's plenty of room for game shows to come back. Even I know they did like a thing a number of years ago with Alan Carr where they brought he did a show where he brought like certain game shows back from the dead to see if there were any interest people watching it. I don't know what happened to that. But hopefully one day, by the grace of God, we can get these shows back. What do you think? Let me know what your favorite game show is in the comments, and you might get an episode one day. We'll find out now. Yeah, I don't think there's much else I could talk about the show. Yeah, I don't think so. This is gonna be a short episode, I think. Not only because I'm going away, but there's only so much with these game shows you could talk about, and I thought this show was kind of like worthy of talking because of how fun and good it is. So yeah, that'll be it. So what I'll do, I'll leave you with some nice words with I'll leave you with something, and then we'll do the outro and we get out of here. Okay. And that's it, everybody. That's episode 28, which is Strike Your Lucky of the Multiverse Entertainment podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with even more movies and TV show antics. If you want to catch us on any social media right now, go check us out at Multiverse Entertainment Pod on Instagram, Mo Podcast on TikTok. You can follow me on social media as well. ItzThatNerdJames everywhere. You can catch me on Twitch as well. I'll be on there gaming out, hanging out. Come say hello. All the links for the podcast and myself will be in the descriptions below. Where you can also find us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts as well. And you can check us out on YouTube as well. Go to ItzThatNerdJames on YouTube. You can find all the Multiverse of Entertainment podcast episodes there. All 28 episodes when this goes out. So plenty of things for you to enjoy out there. Next week we'll be back in the world of movies, and my buddy Sassy Bear Clarence is joining us again, and we are going to be talking about the 1997 classic featuring a young Tommy Lee Jones and a young Will Smith. We are talking about Men in Black. So until then, we'll rock out to the big outro. See, I always get these fucking things wrong. We'll rock out to the big outro music we all love so much. See you next week. Goodbye.